Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome. To those who are with us in person, we're especially grateful to be able to welcome you, and thank you to the ushers who have been helping us to figure out how we come back in person. To those who are with us virtually, we welcome you as well. We welcome members of our community, those who are local to El Paso, people from around the world, but especially want to welcome anybody who is with us from around Texas and who is struggling with the lack of resources, power, water, all the things that you've been going through this past week. For those who are with us from around Texas, we especially welcome you and want you to know that we've been thinking about you and worrying about you. We welcome Temple Mount Sinai's music director, Carlos Gomez. We welcome Temple's pianist, now I guess we could say, Elvira Spector. Welcome. We're so grateful to have you with us. And we welcome all of you. For those with us virtually, if you'd like to follow along, please take a look at Temple's Facebook page, where you'll see the service document posted this afternoon. On the document at the top, you'll find a prayer book link so that you can follow along as well. We begin by celebrating Shabbat with the words of Yismechu, which can be found on page 44. For those at home making use of the complete edition of the prayer book, it's page 162.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, המקשי שבים, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו. השבירת בו וקידשתו חמדת ימים אותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית
We turn back to pages 2 and 3 to light the Shabbat candles. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. If you are able to rise, I invite you to do so.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehalik ner, של שבת.
We remain standing for the call to prayer, page 146.
Barehu et Adonai Adonai, המבורך
Page 148, that's page 266. Page 148. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world. In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth. In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder. In each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, the next page.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
May be seated as we continue on page 150. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem, Emet. Page 152. We sing together our song of freedom. We hum along our song of freedom. Mi chamocha.
Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot Rahovanecha Bokeh livne Moshe Zeli Ano Ve'ameru Adonai Yiloch Leolam
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Our Amidah, the moment of approach to the divine presence, page 155. If you are able to rise, I invite you to do so.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, אלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחבי רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהלוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You may be seated as we continue in silent prayer and reflection. Page 164. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. As we reflect on our prayers for peace, we call to mind those of our loved ones, our friends, our neighbors, those around the state of Texas especially, and around the world who are struggling with illness of mind, body, or spirit. If those who are watching us virtually have names they'd like to add, I invite them to do so in the chat as I offer these names on behalf of our community and then invite those present to share the names of the people that they are praying for as well. As a community, we think of Donald Weinberg, Ross Fruithandler, Jesse Bilal Ledeboer, Jim DeRoss, Chaya Elon, Michelle Tenen, Molly Tenen, Ellen Goodman, Mindy Dember, Johnny Guillen, Fred Keim, Meyer Keim, Steve Kerner, Pat Miranda, Ralph Miranda, and Elijah Renteria, Jeff Pinar. And to their names we add We pray for healing of mind, body, and spirit. The words for our prayer for healing can be found on the handout.
שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. שברך אמותינו, שרה רבקה לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us a way. שברך אבותינו, שברך אמותינו, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as
It's been a long time since I've had to live with the immediate results of words offered from this pulpit. But, usually if you're watching something virtually and you're like, that was okay, a couple days later you've forgotten about it. But if it was just okay a couple minutes later, you're a little bit more keen to remember it. So, thank you for your patience. Your willingness to give me a little space to ease back into what it's like to preach in public again. This COVID experience could be thought about in two ways. Well, lots of ways, but in two ways that I could identify. One is about this wasted year when it all came to a screeching halt, that normal course of our lives because of this virus. Alternatively, the story of COVID is a story of intense ingenuity, of creativity, of human beings overcoming challenges and redefining their lives in the quest for meaning and presence. Your temple has been offering more events and gatherings than ever before. And we've been learning in new and special ways together, ways that we could not have imagined a year ago. One of the activities we began was to study more complex and complicated works of Jewish thought with a book group. We're currently reading Abraham Joshua Heschel's God in Search of Man. And I cannot help but share some of my reflections about that first section of the book, which we've met and discussed this past week. Something really stuck out to me in the context of our situation, and that is where Heschel shares a story which feels just so relevant. A brief, very short story. He says, "There is a story of a cub reporter who was sent to cover a wedding When he came back, he said dejectedly that he had no story because the bridegroom didn't show up. The absence of story, the absence of lesson, the absence of meaning may be about perspective. And it is too true when things do not go the way we expect. We are shocked and shaken, and perhaps we pause and we feel like our lives have taken a stop. In the context of the situation in our state this last week, I heard one interviewee reflect on the words of Winston Churchill, which felt so appropriate to this entire pandemic experience, when Churchill said, quote, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." We've been through a crisis. We are in the midst of a crisis, and we have lost so many people and so much along the way, and yet here we are, in some ways more in touch with what we as Jews have known about with regards to what it means to be human. That much of what might come our way is in fact beyond our control. That we are not prepared, and that despite any preparation, or lack thereof, we will survive if we pull together. If we put our values above desire, faith above want, and if we put one another above ourselves. Medieval poet Ibn Gabriel wrote, "Of what avail is an open eye if the heart is blind?" And to that, Heschel reminds us that callousness is the root of sin. But this Shabbos in our Torah, we read about the detailed information for the construction of a tabernacle, that dwelling place in the Israelite midst. An opportunity for the Israelites to open their hearts and their minds to the presence of holiness, which pervades and persists, but often remains out of sight and out of mind. And so they built a physical symbol of holiness, and there the sacrifices could be made, representations of gratitude and of thanks. And so the Parsha is named Terumah. And in this context, these terumot, these gifts, are to be brought by any Israelite whose heart moves them. That expression of open-heartedness, which exemplifies a recognition of togetherness, a unity of purpose not only with regards to the divine, but with regards to one another. And at the same time, as we read those words of our Torah, we also recognize that this week is Shabbat Zachor, the Shabbat before Purim. The Shabbat when we remind ourselves of the commandment to annihilate Amalek, the representation of evil, of vindictiveness, of selfishness and guile in the world. Zachor is about memory and remembrance. It is about recalling what it looks like when we are not there for one another, when we do put ourselves before the divine and before one another. It is not a coincidence that a gift is a reminder of our care and concern. The gifts of the Israelites, which they brought to the construction of the tabernacle, the gifts which the Israelites would bring to be offered at the altar to God as sacrifice, gifts help the giver and the receiver to remember, to recall one another's love and kindness. This extended crisis has reminded us of many things, things which we see in our Torah all along. It teaches us to be open-hearted. It teaches us about the order of our priorities and the values which guide us through life. It teaches us about the presence of sanctity in a world which is extremely imperfect. It teaches us about the importance of gift and of memory. It teaches us that this past year has not been a pause. It has, and it can prove to be, an incredible leap forward in our efforts to be a holy people together and to be holy people individually. And so I pray we might see the blessings around us May we reflect deeply upon the lessons we have learned in our own experiences through this past year. May we cherish one another and never forget that we are in this together. And may the day soon come when all people will see that holiness is present, waiting for us to let it into our lives. Shabbat Shalom. We continue on page 282. For those at home making use of the complete edition of the prayer book, that's page 586, as we reflect on our obligations to the divine and to one another with Aleinu L'Shabeach. If you are able to rise, I invite you to do so.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גאולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, בגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. So we turn to page 289 and reflect on the blessing of memory. Page 289. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. For those using the complete edition of the prayer book, that's page 598. Those with us virtually, I invite you to share the names of those you are remembering in the chat. And I invite those who are present to rise as they hear the names of their loved ones called. We mourn the recent death of Francis Kahn, Edame Scher, John Lavis, Larry Barron, Edwin Spike Wisburn, Bob Bendelin, and any and all of those who have died in Texas and around the country with the weather this past week and the lack of basic necessities during it. This anniversary week of their passing, we observe yahrzeit for Joe M. Amstatter, Joshua Batkin, John Bonner, Barbara Borshaw, Belen Bird, Betty Ann Duvener, Albert Feinberg, Annette Fearman, Rabbi Floyd Fearman, Max Fishbein, Morris Galatzin, Francisco Garcia, Deborah Trogman Given, Irving Gulbis, Ruth Cecile Kahn, Sidney C. Kahn, Bennett Buddy Kalmans, Michael Joshua Nip, Joe Krasny, Raphael Krinovich, Albert Matthias Tito Crone, Ray Bellman Krupp, Nathan Lepowski, Rose Levine, John Litt, Mary Bellman Long, Charlotte Mann, Sidney Mayer Jr., Estelle Merkin, Lily Kalisher Moy, Bert Papa, Henry Mark Post, Hyman Ramanovsky, Shirley Rosendorf, Claudia L. Rothschild, Howard Sagor, Simon Sachs, Rebecca Sheffer, Simcha Scheidlauer, Kurt Spear, Charlene Unger, Sigmund Weiser, Rudolph Wisburn. To those names we add We also reflect on the memory of those who have no one to say Kaddish for them as we rise together as one communal family for Mourners Kaddish. Yit Gadal V'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma Divra Chirutei V'yamlich Malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Ulamei Amaya. Yit Barach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh. V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yithalal Shemei D'Kudesha Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing and an inspiration to life. As together we say, Amen. You may be seated.
Oseh shalom bimroma. O yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru.
We welcome Temple President David Leffman forward to offer announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi Carlos and Ms. Spector, for the wonderful service this evening. I'd also like you to join me in thanking our streaming sponsors, Vladi Krinovich and Olga Kolsheleva, in memory of Rafael Krinovich, Rose Lillian Falcon, in memory of Francisco Garcia, Sue Bendelin, in memory of Albert Feinberg, and Lynn Crone, in memory of Albert Crone. Tomorrow, we'll have Torah study at 9:30. Then at 10:30, we'll be live online, streaming Shabbat morning services. Tomorrow evening, they're requesting RSVPs, so please do. The Sisterhood is going to be hosting a Havdalah and a Hamantash and cookie class. That will begin at 6:50 via Zoom. More information, of course, is on the Temple website for all of you. Coming up Sunday, is at 6 p.m. is International Scholars. The topic is Jews in the Balkans. And then next Tuesday night at 6:30, we'll have Temple Trivia Night. Adult Ed, of course, is on Thursdays, both at 10:30 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. And also on next Thursday, which is another RSVP, please join us for Purim Palooza. And then later at 6 p.m., we'll actually have a Purim celebration live via Zoom. For those of you that are joining us remotely, we hope you got to at least get a glimmer of the sunset as we had it. That's kind of a unique thing that we're using the main sanctuary and being able to enjoy that sunset other than during the High Holy Days. I'd also like to welcome and thank those of you who have joined us live stream. We will continue live stream services in addition to providing in-person services. All of you that have joined us this evening, a little more than 20, it's not too much less than 30. Thank you for coming, and thank you for joining us. Everyone that desires to is welcome to come, but please do RSVP on the Temple website so we can plan accordingly. Thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.
We'll conclude in song on page 321. Those using the complete edition of the prayer book. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Yes. Well, first we'll do Kiddush, because that would make sense. Page 5. That would be page 123 in the complete edition of the prayer book. And then we'll conclude in song.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו. בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. בשבת קודשך באהב וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Okay, now it's time to turn to page 321, which is page 625 for those at home with using the complete edition of their prayer book. Page 321, and if you're able to rise, I invite you to do so.
אדון עולם אשר מלך, היי דה דה די דה 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 די, בטרם כל יציר נברא, היי דה דה די דה 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 די, להנשא בחפצו כל, היי די דה 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 די, אז המלך שמו נקרא, היי די דה 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 דה. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך, היי דה דה די דה 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 דה, בטרם כל יציר נברא, היי דה דה די דה 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 דה, להנשא בחפצו כל, יאי יאי דה 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 דה, אז המלך שמו נקרא, היי די דה 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 דה. והוא אחד והשני, והמשילו לחברה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמזרע. אדון עולם אשר מלך, היי דה דה די דה 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 דה, בטרם כל יציר נברא, היי דה די דה 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 דה, להנשא בחפצו כל, היי היי דה 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 דה, אז המלך שמו נקרא, היי די דה 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 דה. בידו כדרוכי, בית ישן והעירה, ועם רוחי גווייתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא. אדון עולם אשר מלך, היי דה דה די דה 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 דה, בטרם כל יציר נברא, היי דה דה די דה 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 דה, להנשא בחפצו כל, היי היי דה 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 דה, אז המלך שמו נקרא, היי די דה 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 דה.
Into your hands we've entrusted our spirits when we sleep and when we wake, and with our spirits our bodies as well. Dear God, be with us that we might not fear. Shabbat Shalom. We'll invite those who are present with us to please follow the instructions of the ushers as you depart so that we don't have a crowding. I can't see what your so we don't have crowding at the exit.